Okay, so sorry for any background noise, but I hope everyone is doing okay amid the corona crisis that we have going on here. Hope everyone is staying safe, staying healthy. But in the midst of this crisis that we find ourselves in, it has been somewhat of a confusing time. Seeing as how most major sports, even semi-pro sports, has been canceled due to this virus, and seeing how life seems to have halted in a way. So it's a pretty confusing time right now, but it hasn't stopped the NFL. The NFL is still moving as actively as one would, I guess one could guess. Like they haven't slowed down at all. To be honest, I think the NFL right now is in the sports world, in the sports realm, has provided us with all the entertainment that we can handle. A lot of big signings, a lot of big releases, a lot of big trades, and I want to touch on a couple here in this video, but let's just get to it.
Well, a quarterback trade that may tell us a lot about the starting quarterbacks of the teams involved. The Jaguars have traded Nick Foles to the Chicago Bears for a compensatory pick. Nick Foles, whose last victory was in Chicago in that.
Now, I've been high on Nick Foles because I've been saying that I believe Carson Wentz is dramatically overrated. I think during his MVP year before he got hurt, people were almost on a Carson could be like where people are with Patrick Mahomes now was where people were with Carson Wentz. Now, although I said he was the most talented quarterback I've seen in the NFL, with his ability to move around in the pocket, outside the pocket, and his ability to throw laser fucking darts accurately to his receivers, he was, in my opinion, the most talented quarterback, and I still believe back then when I watched this kid play that he was the best quarterback in the NFL. Since his injury, that has changed. Now Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback in the NFL, but that doesn't make them the best quarterback in the NFL. That just means that they have an incredible amount of talent. But Nick Foles was that guy. Nick Foles was the guy that he didn't look like your prototypical quarterback. He didn't play like your prototypical. He was the guy that came in, pretty much ran Doug Peterson's system to perfection and got the job done. And I also said that he endeared himself with the Philadelphia players, with the Eagles players, because they went to war in such a crucial part of the year, which I think Carson Wentz missed out on. And that's what I guess lost some trust. Not some trust, has lost some bonding time. Like he lost some bonding, I guess, with his teammates. Or I'm trying to make sure I'm saying it right. Usually in the throes of playoffs, bonds are tighter when, it's getting at that point where we're talking about Super Bowls, championship games. Bonds are formed. All right. Lifetime bonds are formed in the throes of battle at those periods of time. And Carson missed out at that time. And it was the worst time for him to get hurt because he's played phenomenal football all year. The one time that they really need this dude to be on his game, he gets injured. Okay? Not his fault, but it is what it is. So since then, Nick Foles have pulled the Eagles out of holes. And I thought that when they let Nick Foles go, I thought they were going to miss him. I was wrong. And gladly so. Carson Wentz. But to be honest, I think last year's division race in the NFC East was more about Dallas failing than it was about the Eagles overcoming. But Nick Foles went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was excited to see how he would play there. He got injured, and this is usually how Nick Foles is, where he'll have a phenomenal season, a phenomenal run 1 year, and then the next year, when you expect him to be the guy, something happens. It always happens. It happened the last time, and it happened this time. So they were done with the 1 year experiment, I guess, and they moved him to Chicago. Now they have Gardner Minshew. They didn't need Nick Foles.
Game a couple of years ago, the double doink game that is everyone remembered it in Chicago as with Cody Parkey. Also the last man to beat Tom Brady in a Super Bowl as a member of the Eagles. So for more on this move, we're delighted to be joined by Hall of Famer Steve Young. You, of course, know him as the OG of OG, as in Old Greenwich. Steve Young.
The valedictorian of Vista Avenue. Don't
hey, you do you, I'll do me, okay? So, Steve, what do you think of this move? What does it say, first and foremost, about the Bears' faith in Mitchell Trubisky?
I think
the Bears still have faith in Mitchell Trubisky. You don't put everything into a guy. You don't put everything you have into a young quarterback who you believe can still play and just immediately say, you know what, let's just move the fuck on. Sometimes over time, to lose faith in somebody, it's gradual. It's not sudden. Especially when you believe in them as much as the Bears believed in Mitchell Trubisky. It's a gradual change. Look at Jameis Winston in Tampa Bay. It took them 4 years to finally get him the fuck out of town. Sometimes it's most of the time it's a gradual change, and I think they're still holding out hope. I think the reason why they're bringing Nick Foles in is, one, to light a fire under Mitchell Trubisky. When young players, and I've noticed this, when young players are complacent and they feel like their job is secure or their position is secure, they don't see the need to improve. Example, Ben Simmons. They don't see the need to improve. They don't see the need to improve themselves. So they stay at the same spot they were before. And as long as you keep glorifying it, or as long as you keep coming up with excuses for why this player hasn't lived up to expectations, they're going to continue to be complacent. So I think the Bears is doing what they need to do, and that is bring in somebody that's going to put a fire to his ass and make him improve, show faster progression. Otherwise, then it would be time for them to move on. But if you ask me, are the Bears trading in Mitchell Trubisky for Nick Foles? Why would you do that? If you believe you have a young guy that can win, it wasn't too long ago that they did. Why would you bring in a quarterback to completely just shelf this young guy and possibly ruin him for the future? Because confidence is everything in the NFL. Confidence is everything in sports. Your mindset is important. And if you believe that your team has given up on you, why fight for them? So I think they're bringing them in to light a fire under Trubisky, but also give some advice. Sometimes when you have a young quarterback that seems to be hitting a wall, bringing in a veteran that can teach him how to overcome that helps.
Still faithful for Mitch Trubisky. I think that, to me, he's the ultimate sixth man. It's like Dennis Rodman. It's like Ryan Fitzpatrick. In many ways, when he comes off he's better coming off the bench. He's better. That's a better place for him. And it'll create creative tension with Mitch. He'll come in. He knows he's been very accomplished, and in meetings, it's not a threat directly because I think he's still the leader, the starter of the ball club. But constantly, it'll be a balance. And I think Mitch did something last year. I got to tip my cap to him.
Sorry.
He went to the dregs. He went to the bottom of the heap. He was under fire halfway through. He battled back. I watched it. He battled through it and actually played better football by the end, which I think, Trey, will tell you that he's going to be a better player next year. When you go through seasons like that and you don't drown, you actually come out and survive it and actually thrive a little bit towards the end. I think says a lot about what I would, if I was Coach Nagy, I would say, I think Mitch will get better because of what he went through last year.
All right, we got to stop this because It seems like that's what everybody is living on. Well, he started the season bad, but he ended the season better. That means he's going to go into next season a better quarterback. Same thing was said about Jimmy Garoppolo. They ended when he got to San Fran, they ended the season on a 5-0 win, or they ended the season 5-0. When he got to San Fran. But he got hurt the next year. And before he got hurt, I mean, this dude played horrible. Jimmy Garoppolo played bad his first start. His first season starting in week 1 or whatever, he played bad. He was a bad quarterback. He was a turnover machine. Well, not turnover machine, but he was a poor decision maker. I'll tell you that. He was a poor decision maker. And then he got hurt, missed the rest of the season. That wasn't his fault, but we've seen quarterbacks in one season unbelievably well and then come out the next season and lay a fucking egg. So we got to stop this.
All right, Steve, thanks. We'll check back with you a little bit later on. So for more on this, let's go back to front office insider Louis Riddick. Louis, what more can you tell us about, A, what this says about Mitchell Trubisky, and also how confident are the Jacksonville Jaguars that Gardner Minshew is the dude?
Obviously, they believe in him a lot because when they paid Nick Foles that money, that was paid in the belief that Nick Foles will be the quarterback for however many years they signed him for. Obviously, they believe enough in Gardner to believe that they can let Nick Foles go or trade him, and you're confident in what you have there already. They have the utmost confidence, obviously.
Yeah, I think what this says about Mitch Trubisky, and even maybe more importantly, what it says about Matt Nagy is this. The gloves are coming off as far as how they're going to treat Mitch Trubisky. It's not going to be any more of, hand-holding and constantly trying to... I don't want to say cater to them because every quarterback needs to be catered to, and you need to do what they can do best and kind of like set them up for success. But I think this is a year where there are heightened expectations internally there for the Chicago Bears. The coaching staff really does think that they're going to be much better. They know they have to be much better.
When you got a defense that good with Eddie Jackson, Kyle Fuller, Khalil Mack, Eddie Goldman, like when you have a defense that good for it to be wasted on a ineffective offense is a shame. They are in. Is it DEFCON 1? DEFCON 1 is the emergency one. Like it's like, all steams ahead or some shit. Like it means high alert or whatever. So they're in DEFCON 1 right now. They need to fucking get it done. Matt Nagy should be on a hot seat. If he's not on a hot seat, he should be. This season is this is a statement season. Either it's going to be Matt Nagy got the job done, the Bears went on a terrific run throughout the playoffs, or Matt Nagy gets fired. One or the other.
Across all positions, every single position on this football team, but most importantly at quarterback, and that it is time for Mitch to actually take a step and take a sustained step. Not show it to us in flashes, show it to us with consistency. And I think Nick Foles, this is more than just, a subtle push for Mitch Trubisky. Nick Foles won the biggest game that you can win. And I know he won it in a backup manner, meaning he wasn't the regular starter, came in and took over for Carson, and obviously went on a roll. Nick Foles right now, look, you heard Adam Schefter already mention the fact that he had his contract restructured to where if he hits certain performance incentives, he can become a free agent again. Do you think that's not incentive for him? Do you think he would do that if he thought he was just going to be some long-term backup for the foreseeable future? He's betting on himself. He's not coming in there to disrupt anything, but
it's too late for that. All right, Nick Foles has been around for a while. It's not like he is in the first, 5 years of his career. He's been around for a while. He's closer to the end than he is to the beginning. So let's not go there, okay? I will say this. Nick Foles has to be the greatest backup quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Because of his two performances coming off the bench and almost outplaying the starter that was in there before, leaps and bounds, outplaying them. So he has to be, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback. And if you're the greatest at something, why not embrace it? Okay, there's nothing wrong with knowing who you are and embracing it. All right. Sometimes those are the best people. And I think Nick Foles embracing the backup role is the best. I think the best he can be as a quarterback in the NFL, because we've seen Nick Foles start. I mean, there was a time where he played for the Rams. I mean, we all know how that went. So,
not coming in there to just hold Mitch Trubisky's hand, and he's not coming in there to say, "Hey, you know what? You're the starter. I'm just here to support you." He will do that by virtue of who he is, and he is a great teammate, and everyone who's been around him will tell you that. But Matt Nagy knows what this guy is capable of, and he knows what he's capable of in the kind of environment that Matt feels that he can provide for him. And that's why I think this is something to watch. This is not just let's just kind of continue to prop up Mitch. No, it's going to be time for Mitch to stand on his own. And if I was putting my money on this, Nick Foles is going to be the starter on this football team, and he's going to make this football team better.
Lewis,
all right. First of all, let's get one thing out the way. All right. Even though I call Nick Foles the greatest backup quarterback I've ever seen in my life, I'm gonna say this: Nick Foles had the benefit of being drafted by Andy Reid and playing for Doug Peterson. And I've said this before: the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles won that Super Bowl was because of Doug Peterson. All right, and Andy Reid, before this season, was arguably the greatest coach in the Super Bowl era that has never won a Super Bowl. But now you can't say that anymore because he's a Super Bowl champion. But before he was the greatest coach to never win a Super Bowl. To go from Andy Reid to Doug Peterson, in my opinion, I think that Nick Foles was the beneficiary of some great coaching. Going to Chicago, playing for Matt Nagy, do I look at Matt Nagy in the same realm of Andy Reid or Doug Peterson? I'm not sure. I think that one can make an argument that Mitchell Trubisky has somewhat stunted the growth of the Chicago Bears, which looks bad for Matt Nagy. But another person can make an argument that Matt Nagy might not be the right coach for that team. So, we'll see, I guess.
Agree with you, because they always said they're going to bring someone in to push Mitch Trubisky. Question is who they were going to bring in would tell us how much they really want him to be pushed. Nick Foles is a Super Bowl MVP and a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Of course, some of the big plays in that Super Bowl 52 win by the Eagles over the Patriots to seal the game were made by the defense. The only sack of that game was the strip sack that really put the Patriots out of real contention to win that game. And we've had a ton of defensive moves today, Field, in free agency on that side of the ball.
Let's begin with what happens yesterday is now old news, as Leonard Floyd, who was cut by the Bears yesterday, Trey, has already found a new home with the Los Angeles Rams. 1 year, $10 million, worth up to 13, according to our friend Adam Schefter. Floyd, a first-round pick.
Well, that's about it. I don't know. I mean, they're getting into Leonard Floyd now. Don't really want to talk about him. I kind of wanted to touch on the Mitchell Trubisky thing because, one, I think that when you have young players who refuse to progress, I think it's more about the teaching than it is about the student's ability to take in the information or the student's unwillingness to take in the information. One or the other. I don't know what Mitchell Trubisky is. He could be a guy who just isn't receiving the suitable amount of coaching that he needs to make him a better quarterback. Or he doesn't have the right the coach needs to have a certain temperament to be able to deal with Mitchell Trubisky. But one could make the argument that Mitchell Trubisky was never a great quarterback to begin with, even when he was in North Carolina, because a lot of times I see these quarterbacks, they do nothing for the first 3 years of their college career, and then they'll have one unbelievably great season, and then everybody's talking about them like they're the next big thing. Like Carson Wentz, Joe Burrow, but it's not fair for me to put Joe Burrow in there because, I mean, we haven't seen what he was able to do in the NFL yet. So I'll go Carson Wentz, Mitchell Trubisky. One could say Cam Newton, man, but I think Cam Newton's career has been somewhat of a success. Versus what I thought he was really going to be when he got into the NFL, I would consider him a complete success. Because, to be honest, I didn't think that he would play as well as he did. I didn't even think he would win an MVP or get to a Super Bowl. But he surprised the fuck out of me. So, I mean, I'm willing to give him props for that. But, I mean, a lot of times we see these quarterbacks, they come out of college after having one great season, and we're all looking at him like, that's the dude right there. That's the guy who's going to take it to the next level. And sometimes you just gotta look at an orange and stop pretending it's a fucking apple and just see that it's an orange and trying to make the best out of it. Otherwise, you'll be disappointed, and you'll give this young kid who probably loves the fuck out of this game unfair expectations, and that could do almost as much damage to a person's psyche than not playing well. So hopefully Mitchell Trubisky can get himself together. Hopefully he can find another gear and help this team reach a height that I believe they can reach with the defense that they have. And hopefully it's this season, because I think this is going to be a make or break season for both Mitchell Trubisky and Matt Nagy. So we'll see. All right.